Now I have to start with a negative, unfortunately, hopefully to make CD Projekt aware that currently the Switch version has a serious bug, and that's in the sound department. It's basically missing the ambient sounds. The patch has completely removed a lot of the weather sounds, so yeah, hopefully they can get that fixed nice and quickly. Alright, on with the rest of the video. Come on, Roach. Welcome back to SwitchUp. My name's Mark Walker, and today we're going to look at that Witcher 3 huge update that just came out, go over the current performance, the massive number of changes they've made, and generally just enjoy larking about once again in the Witcher 3. If you enjoy this revisit style content, make sure to check out our all patched up series. There's a playlist for it somewhere. If you want to save yourself 10% on any of your eShop games, you can get credit over at switchup.gg, use code SwitchUp to get 5% off instantly, and you get 5% back in SwitchUp coins. So what's in the Witcher 3 patch? Well, let's find out. There are so many changes to talk about, it's difficult to know where to begin, but the next generation patch came out a while ago on other platforms, and we were kind of left out in the cold. That is no longer the case. CD Projekt Red seem to be on a bit of a comeback arc, and although the Nintendo Switch version obviously doesn't include things like ray tracing, we get a ton of the DLC, including the Netflix DLC, which has lots of costumes that you can choose from the gameplay menu. So an alternative one for Dandelion, there's an alternative Nilfgaardian armor, and a couple of others that you can see here. Now I have to say at this point, you might notice from the footage on the screen, I don't remember performance being quite as bad as it actually is at the moment. If we look at the frame rates, obviously there are a few cities, particularly this one, where performance did come down quite significantly. But yeah, maybe it's just the time and the amount of time I've been away from it, but it hovers consistently around 20 frames per second. When you're out and about in the wild, it's a little bit better. In fact, that's a bit of an understatement. There are some impressive things here. Not least of these is the distant shadows. When I was climbing back up this hill, the first thing that alerted me to my imminent danger was the shadow cast on the ground over quite some distance. The lighting still holds up as well, as do some of the water effects. And certainly in cutscenes, you're treated to a much better image quality.
Shall not have it easy this time.
Brought friends? They all pledged to defend Maid Bilberry's honor too.
And The Witcher 3 is one of those games where if you dive back in, load up an old save, even if you've spent 300 or 400 hours in the game like I have, you can go for a little swim and find yourself speaking to a troll you've never met before.
Final quiet, good time man comes.
It's funny, isn't it? In a post Tears of the Kingdom world, I've got to be honest, I do think The Witcher 3 still holds its own, and the more mature tones, it really does appeal to me in a different way. I think overall, really, with performance, there isn't a huge amount of change. Perhaps I just never really noticed how bad it got in the cities. And as for enhancements, I'd say we're looking about the same as we were before on patch 3.6. As for visual quality, if you remember in the last patch, they included a few tweakable options, things like being able to toggle on post-processed anti-aliasing, and that's a bit of a double-edged sword. When it's on, you end up with the blurriest image in the world, and when it's off, you really do get the jaggies. I have to say though, I do think I prefer it off, definitely when you're playing in handheld, and then cranking everything else up to high sharpness. So what else is new? Well, we also get a brand new questline on the Switch version, which is known as the Eternal Fire's Shadow. If you finish the game and you head to Velen, then you can unlock that one, and you'll get lots of rewards based on the Netflix series. The next big feature addition is online progression. Now, sadly, this is tied to GOG. Now, I love GOG, it's a really good rival service, I guess, to Steam, but I don't own The Witcher 3 on GOG, so unless I can figure out a way of crossing my save across to there, then I'd still have to buy another game. But if you do have a GOG account, then you can now bring across your progress to the Switch version. There's no real fiddly bits. Once you've signed into your account, your latest save will just go into the cloud, whiz around a bit, and then appear when you play on PC. Now, next up, with all these companies trying to get us to sign up to their services, if you do sign yourself up to their services, especially My Rewards, within The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, you'll receive the Sword of the Nine-Tailed Vixen, White Tiger of the West armor, the Dol Blythana armor set, and a Roach card. We've also got quite a few quality of life changes on the Switch version. They have finally added the quick sign casting option. As the name suggests, it means that you can quickly change between signs without having to open up that radial menu, which proves quite useful. They have increased the fall height so that if you fall from a slightly greater height, you're not going to take damage. They've sped up the way you loot certain herbs. You can choose to toggle an auto hide option for the minimap. This is quite cool. I do always like to play in the most immersive way in these open world games, and turning off as many things as possible. Yeah, that's quite cool. You can also now slow walk by just slightly pushing in on the left stick. There's also an alternative mode for sprinting. You can activate that by tapping the left stick, and you'll find that in the options and controller settings menu. There are a ton of other small tweaks that aren't quite as interesting, but very useful ones, like being able to auto apply oils to your swords during combat. They can be quite handy. The big gameplay change then, they've added in the mod the Full Combat Rebalance 3, which was by Flash in the Flesh. That includes balance fixes and various fixes to gameplay. They didn't just use the default mod here either, they've slightly tweaked it. Now, that mod was actually created by one of the senior gameplay designers, and quote, "It focuses mainly on fixing immersion breakers, buffing underperforming skills and items, cosmetic changes and bug fixes. It also fixes few instances of items and abilities that made Geralt nearly immortal and removed all the challenge from the game." So it's a rebalancing mod to keep things spicy. It's absolutely huge. I'll pop a link to the full mod description so you can go through and have a read if you're interested. There are lots and lots of other quest fixes, and I'll also pop a link to how to claim those rewards because it's a little bit fiddly. So it is nice to have a lot of these changes on the Switch version. It's been quite a while actually that we've been waiting for those 4.0 features. Perhaps it's just been such a long time that performance seems worse to me. I know it was considered a miracle port back in the day, but I'll leave you with some comparisons of my original review and the latest version. As always, if you want to get yourself some eShop credit, use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. You'll get 5% off instantly and 5% back in coins. Thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. Now let's get that horse. Come on, Roach. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!